Hello, welcome back. Today I'm going to be going over Titan builds. These Titan builds in particular I'm going to be going over. I want to say these are my Titan builds. These are the ones I use. I'm also going to mention some other ways you can enhance some of these builds to make them a little bit better. But for the most part, most of these Titan builds are supposed to be fairly simple in nature, meaning you should be able to just throw in the items, go out, and benefit from them. Also, I will be saying I will be starting with in terms of the order of which I'm going to be doing the builds. I'm going to start with exotic leg armor, helmet, and exotic arm pieces. Just because most of all my builds pretty much are all associated with a specific exotic armor piece of some description, in terms of and also in terms of what I'm using weapons with and stuff like that. But in any case, though, I'm going to start off with my number one PvP build that I like to use, which is associated with running a mobility, which is using a mobility spec pair of Doom Marchers, or if you want to, you can also do it with Lion Rampants. The idea is you want to be using one of these shoulder charge abilities from one of the three subclasses, and you also want to be using Strafe Lift. Reason why is because this build is associated with Titan Skating. Now, the reason why you want a shoulder charge is not because I don't want you. The idea of shoulder charge is yes, you can go up and yes, you can get shoulder charge kills. I'm not going to actually run up and get the shoulder charge kills because I want to maintain the shoulder charge so I can show off why you want to actually use it. But the idea behind why you want to use the shoulder charge is you can cut corners with it very quickly and easily. Also, if you don't have your shoulder charge, an alternative is to Titan Skate to the side, and you see there, it's actually a little bit faster than Titan Skating with a 4 momentum. Let's see here, if I were to Titan Skate with a 4 momentum to this thing, and then run back, and Titan Skate with a sideways momentum, I feel like that's a little bit faster at the bare minimum. But the idea is you want to be, with this build is you want to maximize your mobility and be essentially one of the fastest things on that field inside of the Crucible. Shoulder charge, yes, if you want to get a shoulder charge kill, yeah, that's fine. But the idea is you want to use it as a way to get around the field a little bit faster, or if you need to, or if you find yourself not being able to deal with, if you find yourself not in the position to deal with a super, you can essentially run from it, and the shoulder charge ability should make you a little bit harder to kill when doing it because you can just shoulder charge around corners and stuff like that. Of course, obviously, if you're on the ground with the, if you're on the ground when you're using the seismic strike, it can screw you over a little bit because it basically forces you to stop in place for a few seconds there while you use your shoulder charge. So the idea is try to be in the air while you're using this. And that's why I mentioned also Lion Rampants earlier, because you may want, this is really up to your personal opinion. If you want to use Doom Marchers, which the only reason why you want to is because when you're not Titan Skating, you still have some pretty good movement when you're running along on the ground. It's basically Doom Marchers is the Titans equivalent to Stompies, except for they don't have the same exact same functionality as them. Stompies not only buffs your ability, your ability to sprint and run around and turn, it also buffs your ability to jump. Titans have that split between two exotics, Doom Marchers and Lion Rampants. Lion Rampants should make your ability to Titan Skate a lot easier because it specifically buffs your jump ability. So if you want to use Lion Rampants, that's nothing against you. Like I said, this is mainly up to your personal preference in the end, actually, when it comes to which of these two exotics for this build you want to use. I will also give an honorable mention to Peacekeepers for a pair of exotic boots you can use. If you're using if you're using a Recluse in tandem with a Mountaintop, I don't do that on this character. I don't like using Recluse and Mountaintop together because it just feels way too cheesy and OP even to this very day. I'll talk about that probably tomorrow when I go to do my Warlock, when I talk about the Warlock builds I like to use on my Warlock. So get ready for that, because that's probably going to turn into a whole rage fest. Because, fun tip, I used to think Warlocks were the most balanced class in the game. That was until I entered competitive and basically got killed by nothing but handheld supernovas, in tandem with the Warlock also using Controverse Hold, and I forgot what the other thing was. There was something else they were using that really ticked me off. I can't remember what it was. But in any case, the point being is this build right here is meant to be for maneuverability, and if you want to, you can use top tree striker, and you can also use bottom tree sentinel if you really want to as well. It's just that the idea is you want to be maximizing your mobility and your ability to Titan skate in general, and your ability to get around corners. I believe you can pull a 90-degree angle and shoulder charge, but you can't pull a 180 and shoulder charge. You can't do that with the shoulder charge ability. Just as a heads up, if you're thinking, oh, if it comes down to it, if I come around the corner, I see someone pop their super, you can just go, nope. Wait, did I just pull a 180 and shoulder charge? Am I wrong about this? Maybe not when you're Titan skating. Maybe if you run around the corner and you're on the ground and you say, oh crap, there's a super. You can just do that and just instantly get yourself, instantly go right back to that doorway and just nope right out of there if you needed to. That's not to say you wouldn't just straight up slide and then do something like that, because you can do that as well with this build, given we're using shoulder charge. In order to slide in shoulder charge, it requires a little bit of practice. You got to get them the right time. It's kind of like trying to warlock skate with a sword. You just have to practice it a little bit, and then you'll eventually get the timing down. Let's move on to our next build, which is going to be a helmet-oriented build, and this build's very flexible between PvE and PvP, and because really it's just really really in its own right, it's just really powerful in both activities in terms of support and offensive. Well, not offensive. It's got good neutral game, and it's really powerful in terms of support inside PvE. This build, you're pretty much going to want to use either Izanagi's Burden or a similar sniper rifle as your main DPS weapon. Because the idea is you want to stay far away from your opponent and use your defender bubble to buff yourself and your opponents, and maybe even put on a rally barricade. If you're in PvP, you may want to put on towering barricade. And of course, Helm of Saint 14 is just going to be helpful in general. Going back this way, let's take off the Helm of Saint 14 and show off the bubble, so you can get an understanding for exactly what you're going to be dealing with when you're using a bubble without Helm of Saint 14. Now, if you're a Titan main, you will already know most of this stuff. But if you're someone who's wanting to be a Titan main, you want to understand exactly what's the best for a Titan to use. A Titan's bubble, then this is essentially what I'm going over really with this. Titan bubble, pop it. You have two buffs. Armor of Light. By the way, when the counter for Armor of Light goes down to 0, your bubble will disappear. The only way to change this is, of course, if someone outside of your bubble, maybe a golden gun, shoots the bubble, and as a result, your bubble will then instantly, pretty much, if it takes 3 golden gun shots to take down a bubble, so you don't have to worry about it necessarily getting hit by one shot unless it's a hunter using Celestial Nighthawk. But as you see here, no Armor of Light, no Armor of Light. Without Helm of Saint 14, you can't maintain Armor of Light outside your bubble. And you see their Weapons of Light only last for 15 seconds. Point overall with the bubble is, if it's a Thunder Crash Titan, a hunter using Golden Gun, or a Warlock using their Nova Bomb, they can instantly obliterate your bubble. They may not be, in some cases, they may not be able to kill you, but they will be able to get rid of your bubble with the snap of a finger, if need be. For roaming supers though, be warned, they can still kill you if you're not careful. If you're using the bubble right, there shouldn't be a single roaming super that can kill you while you're inside your bubble. That's all I'm going to say about that necessarily right then and there. Also, any super really can technically take down your bubble. Even a Burning Maul can when they're using their whole spinning attack. It takes them... I'm over-exaggerating it, but it takes them a gazillion times longer to take down your bubble as opposed to a Golden Gun Hunter putting 3 shots into your bubble when they're on bottom tree, putting 3 shots into your bubble, or a top tree Golden Gun using all 6 of their shots to take down your bubble. Same thing with the other 2 classes with Nova Bomb and Thunder Crash. But using the bubble again here, as you see our Armor of Light, Weapons of Light. Walk outside the bubble with Helm of Saint 14 on, you maintain Armor of Light. Now, I want to briefly talk about the melee ability. The reason why I say you may want to use a sniper rifle with this build is because if you're using a shotgun, you're likely instantly going to use your melee ability upon you. Because if you're using a shotgun, you're likely using a 1.12 punch shotgun or a trench barrel shotgun, and you're going to use that melee. You're going to use that melee, and it will get you're going to use that melee in some way or another, and it's going to end. You're basically going to end up wasting it on in some way or another. But I will also mention you can get a melee kill, get that overshield, run up to the boss, use your 1-2 punch shotgun, and then melee them. And basically saying that overshield from your melee will keep you alive for longer. So I'm not basically saying that if you're using a shotgun, I'm not saying you're going to waste your melee if you're using a shotgun with 1-2 punch in order to do your DPS delay. So I'm not necessarily saying that you will waste it. I'm just saying that you would have to pay attention to when you're using your melee versus when you're using Izanagi's Burden as your DPS weapon or a similar sniper rifle that's decked out to do DPS. Using your melee is more so a panic button. Like, let's say you're taking a lot of damage, you're sitting there trying to do DPS, and you see a thrall right next to you. You can run it. You basically can be like, oh well, I can basically melee this said thrall over here, get my overshield, and then run away to a place so that I can regen health. Or of course, obviously you have your barricade that you can pop. But if you're using this in PvE, you're likely to be using rally barricade, which isn't going to be anywhere near as useful as defending yourself as something like a tower barricade. It will still get the job done, bear in mind. It's just that you're going to be a little bit on the edge having to crouch right here at where the barricade wall is the thickest at, if you will. You're going to have to crouch right there and be like, please don't jump up, like please don't come around the barricade, don't jump up in the air, don't walk up to the barricade, basically saying just stay back there, don't walk up to me, and let me regen my health. If you're inside PvP, that rally barricade can be useful, but the person can jump up in the air and basically get an angle at you from the air. And at that point, it's completely dependent on what weapon they're using and what the in-air accuracy is like for it. Let's move on to everyone's most hated exotic, OEM. There's a reason why they call this the training wheels for every single Titan. Humble Saint 14, flexible between both PvE and PvP, good exotic, defend the top tree sentinel of its bubble, really good because pretty much nothing can kill you while you're inside of it with few exceptions. I forgot to mention something about this. This was the thing that existed back in D1. I don't know if it still exists inside of D2. If a hunter shoots a tether at your bubble and you hear a golden gun, someone pop their golden gun soon after, whatever you do, if someone from the enemy team popped their golden gun, this is a golden gun that's on the enemy team, whatever you do, don't let them line up a shot with you and that tether. Because that tether, if I remember correctly, acts as a hole in your bubble. If someone shoots a golden gun shot through at that tether, and if someone lines up that tether and you inside your bubble, and they have a golden gun active, and they shoot that golden gun, they should be able to kill you inside your bubble, because that golden gun shot should go straight through the tether, and as a result goes straight through the defender bubble and hit you. Now that doesn't mean it's going to instantly kill you. If they're using something like Top Tree golden gun, it may take them more than one shot to kill you, because you're still pretty bulky when you're inside that bubble. But point is watch out. Yes, if someone shoots a tether at your bubble, yes, it's funny, ha ha ha, laugh at it all you want. The second you hear a golden gun, you need to be ready. You pretty much need to be ready. Because that golden gun could potentially, if they know what they're doing, can line up a shot with that tether and shoot you while you're inside your bubble and kill you. Like I said, that existed back in D1. I don't know if it still exists in D2. I'm just saying, be wary. Tether hunters are a little more dangerous than you actually think they are. Especially if they shoot their tether at your bubble. Actually, I think I remember there was actually a glitch with the bubble actually currently, where if you shoot a tether at it, the tether itself actually appears dead center in the middle of the bubble. So maybe you don't have to worry about it that much. Who knows? I don't have the ability to test it out right now, so all I'm saying is if the tether sticks to the side of your bubble, and it's on if the tether sticks to the outside of your bubble, the only thing that threatens you at that point is someone who's intelligent enough with their super to figure out how to get in there and kill you, or if you somehow manage to mess up and let the super live long enough to do enough damage to you in order to kill you, or it goes someone pops a golden gun and lines up that tether with you inside the bubble. Okay, so back on topic with OEM here. OEM. I cannot rage enough to say how much I hate this exotic. It was the reason why I broke my Xbox One. And it's still a source of immense rage for me to this very day. It's nowhere near as good as it once was. Well, it's not nowhere near as good as it once was. It's still very, very good, but it ain't quite as good as it once was. It's gone through 2 nerfs, and the last nerf it received was its functionality to give you an overshield was completely removed. My personal opinion, OEM should have received the same nerf. Probably should have received the overall same kind of nerf that Wormhusk did, because this is basically Titan's Wormhusk crown, if you will. This is basically a Titan's Wormhusk crown, if you will. And its tracking ability should have been reduced to 3 seconds. There's only one other class in the game that allows them to use wall hacks for a longer period of time. But versus all the other classes, with that one exception, versus all the other classes and their ability to use wall hacks, Titans have a wall hacks that basically last longer than any of the other classes will form of wall hacks. I do acknowledge the existence of Foe Tracer, and I have used it. I think it's once you've tagged your target, and the target basically says, "Oh no, I'm not going to fight you," and they break line of sight of you, that tracking I think only lasts for 3 seconds. It doesn't last long enough. It doesn't last nowhere near as long as OEM does. OEM's tracking does. So it's basically nowhere near as good as OEM in its own right. I mean, it's just as easy to use as OEM. You just aim at the person, it tags them, and you start shooting them. You gain bonus damage because you tagged them, and you can also track them through walls. But that tracking, that wall hacks for that hunter helmet, doesn't last as nowhere near as long as OEM's does. You can use this essentially with any subclass, any weapons really. It's just I figured I'd mention it because it's still pretty powerful. If I see you using this in the Crucible, I'm going to rage beyond all disbelief. If I see anyone using it in the Crucible as a point. If I see anyone using this in the Crucible, I will rage. If I see you using it in PvE, I question your very logic. It's not bad inside PvE, but I'm going to be sitting there judging you pretty harshly. I say that as some Titan in the background is sitting there slowly pulling crayons out of his hand and eating them. I don't hate Titans. Titans are my second favorite class in D2. Warlocks are my least favorite. Warlocks back in D1 used to be my second favorite class to play on. I liked Warlock and Titan in D1 fairly equally back in D1. But in D2, Titans are my second favorite class, and Warlocks follow up soon afterwards. I don't really like using Warlocks in PvP. PvE is a different story, but PvP is Bottom Tree Striker and Synthoceps. Everyone doesn't use Bottom Tree Striker as far as I'm aware of anymore. They don't generally use it anymore as far as I'm aware of. Weapons you want to use this. Monte Carlo is a good choice. Python or any 1-2 punch is a good shotgun is a good choice. If you're thinking about you having 3 shotguns in your inventory, 1 for each elemental burn, the shotguns I could recommend, of course, obviously Python for void burn. Another shotgun I would recommend, a solar shotgun. Last Man Standing. Bear in mind that is a 4-shot magazine. It can roll with 1-2 punch. There may be a better shotgun that you can roll a better solar shotgun you can roll 1-2 punch with. I don't think Mindbenders can. I don't think Wishbringer can. There are a collection of kinetic shotguns that are better. I heard the sound cue for reloading Monte Carlo in the background, so I froze up for a second thinking, what is that? The point being is, Last Man Standing, if you want a solar shotgun for a solar burn activity that has 1-2 punch, Last Man Standing I think is your only choice. Prophet of Doom I think actually can get 1-2 punch, so you can try using that one. The only other arc shotgun that can get 1-2 punch I think is Emperor's Courtesy in terms of arc burn activity, so keep that in mind if you want to get an arc burn shotgun, a shotgun for arc burn that has 1-2 punch on it. Okay, so the point overall of this build is mainly just use Syntheseps. Get your Biotic Enhancement buff whenever you're surrounded by multiple enemies. Shotguns, melee. And you do a lot of damage. All you really gotta say. Now, you can get back your melee ability with Monte Carlo. And it doesn't matter if you get the kill, every single shot from Monte Carlo gives you a chunk of, a very, very small chunk of energy that goes towards your next melee charge. Take damage, instantly regenerate. Frontal Assault's active. I need to double check to see what Frontal Assault does here in just a second, but because I don't think it buffs your damage. I need to double check that real quick. Frontal Assault, Frontal Assault, Frontal Assault. Strike an enemy with this melee ability to reload your weapon, increase both your weapon stability and weapon damage. So it does increase your damage. Okay. It's supposed to also heal you. I don't. Is that this real quick? I need to double check this new saying. Okay, so it supposedly also heals you if you take damage. So keep that in mind if you want to actually get the absolute most out of your DPS for your 1-2 punch build. You want to first activate Frontal Assault, run up to your enemy, shotgun, melee, melee. There you go. And you have pretty much the most damage you can get out of this build. By the way, this shotgun itself does have boss spec on it. It will do 50% more damage, I believe, inside of a void burn activity. But of course, obviously, your arc ability, your arc melee ability will do less damage. And I figure since you're also... Will it do less damage, though? Questions for later. If y'all want to see me use any of these builds and activities, like you want to watch me basically go into a strike, use some of these builds, go into a Crucible match and use these builds, do let me know in the comments down below. I'll try to run a match. I'll try to run one of those activities and show off the build a little bit more in terms of how I use it and basically what some of the weaknesses are of it, of any of these builds. Let's move on though. We're going to move on to... Am I going to skip? Oh, hold up. There's a better version of this build that you can use currently. I need to briefly go over that. This build requires you to have the Solar Plexus mod from your artifact. So pick that up. A 1-2 punch shotgun. You can run Monte Carlo if you want to. Don't growl in my ear. Sorry, that was irritating me a little bit. Hello? I realize Callus is technically not dead. He's a machine. There's multiple of him. Sorry, spoilers for anyone who hasn't done the OG raid for Destiny 2, but I assume that was a piece of the Hive Knight that flew up. That just freaked me out for a second. I'm sorry. Going back to the build here, there is a better version of that build that you can use. It requires you to be running It requires you to be running Burning Maul with your throwing hammer and using the Solar Plexus mod. Now, this exotic is currently disabled because it's actually broken at the moment. The Worm God's Caress, basically saying you get a melee kill, you gain a stack of Burning Fist. This stack goes up, stacks up to 5 times. And what you originally could do with this is you could, I don't have the Worm God's Crest as you can currently see, but I'm going to use my Syntheseps as an example. You can throw on your Syntheseps, which I think will also do the same. I always assume it only buffs your damage if you're using an arc ability. You probably could still use the Syntheseps with the throwing hammer. I'll test that out in just a second to show that off. To show it off and see if it actually does work. But originally what you could do is you could put on the Worm God's Caress, run around, get your melee kills, and stuff like that. Just run around, get your melee kills. And once you get the ×5 stack, which only lasts for 5 seconds each, which at that point I think is only lasting at 5 seconds, you could swap off the exotic, swap it back on, and then you'll still have the Burning Fist buff, whatever it's called, exotics. What's the name of the buff again? Yeah, you still have the Burning Fist buff, and it will still increase your. You'll still have the benefits buff at ×5, but the timer will be gone. So you could sit there. So you could sit there as long as you didn't change load zones, as long as you didn't, as long as you basically stayed in that one exact place and didn't get another melee kill in order to basically trigger a ×1 stack of Burning Fists, if you will. As long as you didn't get another melee kill with the Wormgod's Caress on, and you stayed in that one area, you could maintain a 5 times stack of Burning Fists and maintain that damage buff. So it was pretty crazy. Real quick, let me double check. Roaring Flames. Kills with your solar abilities increase those abilities damage. So the further buff the damage. Wrong button. I went to hit the W key. Actually, no, I went to hit F1 and I accidentally hit the Q button somehow. We're going to try this out with Synthocept. Actually, let's take off Synthocepts first. Let's see how much damage this does to Mr. Ogre over here. Actually, that's not... No, thank you. That's not what I wanted, game. 18,000, I think it's what that was. So we put on Synthocept. That's not the right gauntlets. So we put on Synthocepts. We should have biotic enhancements. 18,000 errors. So I guess it doesn't. Does it? So that was 18,800. Take it off again. I guess it... I am so confused right now. For now, I'm going to say that this does... for now, I'm going to say this Synthocept does nothing for this build. But Solar Plexus, yes, have on. If Wormgod's Caress hadn't got disabled, I would have told you. Put on Wormgod's Caress. I could not. I just can't say it enough. If it was not... If it wasn't for the fact that Bungie went ahead and disabled it, I would tell you right now. Put on that exotic for this particular build. For now, let's go ahead and try and get the Roaring Flames buff. You see there it lasts for a good little while there. I think it only stacks up to ×3. Yeah, only stacks up to ×3, and... Get rid of you. Come back, fresh one, please. Yeah. I'm not gonna quote I'm not gonna say what I was just thinking, because for the fear of getting getting struck by copyright strikes or whatever. But that's pretty powerful. Now imagine that buffed by 50. Imagine that damage buffed by. Imagine that with this build buffed by 50% due to solar burn being active. Pretty powerful. Pretty powerful. That's all I gotta say. Let's move on to some other gauntlet builds. I'm going to briefly talk about Ursa Furiosa and the Banner Shield. This, essentially what this will do is, you're getting shot at by something like an ogre or something. You pop your super. Make sure you have this on. If you're using your Captain America version of super. If you're using Bubble, then that's a different story. But if you're using like middle tree or bottom tree Sentinel, you would want to have 1 or 2 exotics equipped. Either the Ursa Furiosa, which basically saying what it does is when you block with your super. I'm gonna go grab some super. I'm gonna grab some orbs. When you block with your super and someone is doing damage to you, whether that be a PvE ad or a someone inside a PvP, all that damage you're taking turns into super energy that goes towards your next super. So you block. And with this super in particular, the nice thing is everything is going to be focused on you. In terms of doing damage. Of course, everyone behind you will also be buffed in the same way that they would be when they're inside your bubble, with the exception of armor of light weapons. With the exception of armor of light, you will have weapons of light when you're behind someone that's using that ability. So, but the point is that person will be taking damage from, let's say, Mr. Ogre over here, from Mr. Shrek, I suppose. You could call him, and as he's doing damage to you, What's that melee ability do? I need to figure that out. I don't use Middle Tree Sentinel that often. In fact, I don't really ever use it, so I don't know what his melee ability does. But point is they're doing damage to you while you're blocking, and they should be all doing damage to you because you're blocking, because with Middle Tree Sentinel, everything should be focused on you in terms of trying to do damage. And, well, all that damage will transfer into super energy for your next super, is the point. Bungee, 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 bungee. I'll get back to Bottom Tree Shark because I realized I didn't talk about the right thing about it. Bottom Tree Sentinel. Gains a second shield. Doomfang Pauldron. If Bungie nerfs this, in its own right, that's a little bit upsetting. I'm sure everyone knows this build. If you don't, then where have you been? Just where have you been? Pick up some orbs here to show this off. This is a super build, and it's going to be pretty OP. Who's the best for ad clearing? Da 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 da. Wait for it. There we go. Da 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 da. That's Superman. Infinite super. Starting to kill a turret. Throw your shield, kill a few ads. Every single hit gives you back super energy with the shield. Kills give you back even more super energy. Of course, when you're hitting tankier targets, it's going to be a little bit tougher to get back super energy because it's going to take you a while to kill them. But you can see how powerful this is. Burn off the rest of the super. Yeah, you can see how powerful that is. That's pretty powerful. If you want a good ad clearer, Doomfang Pauldrons, Bottom Tree Sentinel, you're good to go. As long as the activity doesn't have some type of modifier to it that's going to reduce the damage that's going to reduce void damage, you're good to go with this build. One last final thing I want to mention about Bottom Tree Striker. A lot of people talked about how this super was going to be useless once its ability to regenerate super energy got nerfed. This is better to show off inside of a anywhere else other than here, basically saying. But we're going to try to show it off here anyways. Point being, doesn't last as long as Doomfang Pauldron. If it wasn't for the fact that some of these enemies were pretty tanky, I mean, look at the exceptions, but there you go. Tanky, a little bit tankier. Guess you could say tankiest. No, that's not a word, but is it a word? No, I highly doubt that's a word. But point being is, Bottom Tree Striker still lasts a pretty long time. Am I going to call for a nerf on it? Hell no. Because in my opinion, more balanced than what it was. That's all I can say. Titans, any of you who have said, when OEM gets nerfed, Titans are going to be useless. You're wrong! Sorry, headphone users. But you're wrong. OEM does not make a Titan. Helmets 814 just as good in its own right. We all know about Doomfang Pauldron. Shh, don't tell Bungie. We don't want it nerfed. Not yet, at least. Syntheseps. Everyone knows the 1-2 punch build with bottom tree arcs. I said Arc Strider. Bottom tree Striker. I don't generally use these. This is if you're looking to get solar kills, put on Hollow Fireheart. I mean, solar kills, Hollow Fireheart. Makes sense, doesn't it? I'm not going to talk about that one in particular though, because it's not real. That's mainly just if you're trying. If that's mainly if you're trying to complete something that says, "Oh, you need to get solar kills in order to complete." Like you got a bounty that says, "Oh, get solar kills," and it doesn't specify solar weapon kills or. And it doesn't specify solar weapon kills or solar super kills. If it just says straight up says solar kills or solar ability kills, then Hollow Fireheart, put it on. It gets the job done. Your choice of subclass tree, by the way. It doesn't really matter which, in my opinion. Mobility. Titans are maybe with the exception of console, hunters rule mobility there. I'm sorry to say to you console players, mobility rules there. Titans on PC, you got mobility. You're just as good. You have the ability to move around just as good as any other hunter. You may not be able to jump up on top of trees inside of Crucible matches and basically camp up there. You may not be able to do that, but Titans, you have Doom Marchers, you have Lion Rampants, you have the ability to move in and out of an engagement via Titan skating faster than just about any other class in the game, aside from maybe a hunter shade stepping. But they only can do that. They only can do that on a cooldown. For you, it's part of your jump ability. So just strafe in, strafe out. That's all I can say. These are my Titan builds. These are the ones I think are pretty good, and this is my reason for thinking that Titans are pretty powerful, irregardless of whether OEM is the used exotic or not. Am I calling for a nerf on any of these things? No, because guess what? They're powerful, but I think they're balanced. Can it be annoying to play against some of it? If they're ruining your fun, hell yes, but for the most part, I like it. All these builds, I like them. These are the builds I use. I hope you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you found out something new that you could use on your Titan. If you're looking to become a Titan main, hopefully you learned something that'll help you become a better Titan main. I'll see you guys tomorrow when I talk about, hopefully tomorrow, when I go to talk about Warlocks and what are some of my favorite builds there and what some builds you should look to try and use them. I'll see you guys next time.